So it looks like we have 2 agenda items remaining, items number 117 and 158. We're going to start with item number 117. I've been made aware that we have motion sheets in our emails. They were emailed to everybody. Councilmember Kitchen?
I'd like to move passage and with my motion sheet. Can I do it that way? I should know that. I'd like to move passage with, for item number 117 with the amendments that are included on the motion sheet in y'all's backup. And once I get a second, I can speak to it.
You have a second, and Councilmember Tovo.
Okay. This is exciting to move forward with this item on Water Forward. We passed a resolution a while back to move these items forward. As a reminder, these were Water Forward recommendations that we all had passed as part of the LDC, and because we didn't finish the LDC, these were left not being finally put in ordinance. So we made those changes. We initiated the resolution a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, to ask the staff to bring the ordinance back, and that's what we have now in front of us. And so the amendment makes it clear, it responds to the testimony we had earlier, to make it clear that we are, that these items are taking effect December 1st, 2021. Except for Part 4, which has always been recommended to take effect on December 1st, 2023. The amendment also acknowledges a concern that had been raised to us by staff that the large development with a multifamily component should be pushed back to December 1st, 2023. So this amendment does that. It says for a large development with a multifamily component that is more than 250 feet from and within 500 feet of a reclaimed water line would not have to connect until December 1st of 2023. So what this does is it moves everything forward according to the original recommendations. It acknowledges the concern that staff had raised related to affordability as it relates just to the multifamily component. So it acknowledges that and provides for 2 years additional time for those large development multifamily within 250 and 500 feet. So that's what it does. And I think this is aligned with the recommendations from staff, as well as what we heard earlier from David Foster about the importance of moving forward with this and moving forward with as much of it as we can right now on that the dual piping and the connecting to the additional piping. So I know Councilmember Tovo had asked about that, and I don't know if she wants to say anything else about it.
Councilmember Tovo.
I do have some comments to make, but probably not at this stage, except that I support the amendment. I think it's really critical that we move forward with these strategies as soon as possible. As someone in the earlier press conference said, I mean, we have plans on the shelf here at the City of Austin, and need to put those plans into action. You know, the Water Forward work started years ago. The first beginnings of what became the Water Forward plan started in 2014, and that was right after or right during one of the worst droughts on record in Central Texas. Between 2008 and 2016, our Central Texas experienced a drought so severe that the storage levels of the Highland Lakes, which is our primary water source, our primary source of drinking water, were as low as 37%. And so it's just very critical that we move these strategies forward. They are, we've heard different concerns through the years about the cost of that, the upfront costs of that infrastructure. But I can tell you, as someone who sat on this dais during the period of time where we were looking for and considering the possibility of entering into agreements to bring in water from other communities into this one so that we could assure our residents that we would have an adequate water supply, that those, the alternatives are extremely costly too. And so by requiring some of these strategies and requiring that upfront investment, we can not just assure that that those who live in those, or those who are using that water will benefit from lower rates in the case of the reclaimed water strategies, but also that as a ratepayer, we will be working toward solutions that, that keep those rates as low as possible, because we're not trying to go to those more costly water solutions if we hit another period of prolonged drought. So that's all I have to say for right now.
Councilmember Alter and then Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys bringing this amendment forward. I have a question for staff. So I would have preferred us being able to move this part forward as well. And I'm wondering, is there a notice that would, make sure a development that's within that number of feet knows that they could connect to the reclaimed water lines? Like, I'm trying to understand if we have mechanisms of notice and information so that they would know about it and have somebody talk to them about the option before the variance is given, which I don't think has to be in the ordinance, but might be in the procedures for that. Can someone speak to that?
Councilmember Alter, Kevin Crittenden, Austin Water Utility Assistant Director. The other component of what council is looking at in this particular item requires water use benchmarking in the land use review process. And so there will be that opportunity through that mechanism to let developments of this size know the availability of reclaimed water in their site development vicinity.
So built into the procedure that we're putting forward, they would be informed of that and have someone talking through the benefits and be aware that the line was within that number of feet for them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I do really appreciate the direction that this is heading. I had two questions that we had asked of staff. I think it may have been Mr. Crow that answered them, but I'm glad to see Mr. Crittenden on here too. I just wanted to ask them publicly so I could make sure I have the correct understanding. With regard to the wording, the director shall grant a variance, I understand this would be administrative, right? So this would basically be they automatically qualify, or they can fill out a simple form and it just gets blessed by staff. Is that your interpretation?
Yeah, council member, yeah, this is Roscoe, and that is absolutely correct. There's no discretion for the director. They would just fill out the form and get their variance
Okay, and
if they meet that requirement.
thank you. And the author is okay with that? Was that the intent when you wrote it? It would just,
Yes,
just the
that
time
is the
between now and
intent.
then.
I appreciate what Councilmember Alter brought up. I think that if I'm understanding correctly, they have to fill out a form and then they're granted the variance. If they choose to connect, they can still choose to connect. So based on what Councilmember Alter's question was.
Yes, totally agree with that. I think that's good news and helpful. And just with the language multifamily component, I wanted to make sure this included mixed-use developments and apartment complexes. Is that?
Yes, it does. It would include anything with a multifamily component.
Okay, good. Those were my two questions. I really appreciate the clarification. And I think, we talk about water forward being an affordability component because, water does cost money. But I love that we have elevated this conversation about how to ensure that we have a robust amount of housing supply as we achieve our housing goals as a city as well. So this has been a really interesting number of conversations I've been having over the months about how to simultaneously achieve affordability on the front end and the back end so that we can have resilience in our community and also have a robust amount of housing supply. And also because the affordability impact statement is not quite ready for this yet, I think this is a great test period to get things going and really appreciate that focus on the multifamily aspect of it. So thank you.
Mayor Adler.
I just want to make clear, I think everyone wants water forward to move forward. Staff had raised a reservation that wanted more time. With this amendment, does this make this now workable for the staff?
Again, Kevin Crittenden, Austin Water Mayor. Yes, that from our perspective, I think we can certainly work with what we have here this evening and can easily work it into kind of our current processes and workflow.
That's good. I remember really well, as Councilmember Tova pointed out, that drought we were in and the billion-dollar solutions that were being shopped to us. One of the first things the new 10-1 council did was make it rain and fill the reservoirs. I'm not sure we could count on doing that every time we need to. So I'm happy this is moving forward.
Any other questions, colleagues? With that, it's been moved and seconded. Actually, I should probably say moved with the motion sheet and then seconded. In which case, all those in favor? It appears as though we are 10 yes,
I'm a no.
1 no. Thank you. The item passes 10-1. So